Hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, and it's Wednesday, which means it's Moon Night Day. Now then, this episode 5, this is season 1, episode 5. I don't know if there's going to be more seasons, I don't know. But this one's called Asylum. Episode 4 finished off where Mark, and he got shot by Arthur Harrow, and he awoke to find himself in an all-white psychiatric hospital, and Layla were there, and people that he knew, the gold statue man were there, and there were other people that he knew, and also Dr. Harrow were there. Arthur Harrow was a doctor in this what's the word? Institution. That's the word I'm looking for. So that's how the episode ended. Oh, and Mark escaped, and there were a sarcophagus that were bouncing about, was going, "Let me out!" And they opened it up, and Stephen came out. So there were Mark and Stephen together. And then there were another sarcophagus which was bouncing about, which they didn't open, and it left us thinking, who's in there? Is it Jake Lockley, the third, from the comics anyway, the third personality of Mark? But I've got to say, we don't find out in this episode. A bit of spoilers before we start. Anyway, this episode begins with he's in the hospital again, and he's talking to Dr. Harrow, and so you're thinking, hang on, why is he talking to Dr. Harrow? Before he was with Stephen, and they just met Taweret, the hippopotamus goddess. Why is he suddenly talking to Dr. Harrow again? And I don't know. It doesn't really. And suddenly he's got seems to have a broken nose, and he's all bashed in. Don't know what happened there. But anyway, Dr. Harrow is trying to tell him that you met a hippopotamus. He said rhinoceros at first, but then he says hippopotamus, and he says it's nonsense. But then he suddenly goes back into the fantasy. I'm doing quotes, fantasy again. So it's him and Stephen there with Taweret, and she's all lovely. She's got a lovely soft voice, hi and all that, and it's quite annoying actually. This is quite an annoying character. Looks great, the CG's great, but the voice doesn't do anything for me. It's just another example of the Marvel humour. They're trying to do a serious topic. I mean, Moon Knight's supposed to be dark in it, but it has got dark elements in it, but they keep undercutting it with the Marvel humour. Anyway, it turns out that she says they're dead. She somehow thinks they're twins. I don't think she realises that they're two personalities from the same person. Why doesn't she know this? I don't know. And it turns out they're on a boat going to, their final judgment. She's got to weigh their heart. She reaches into their chests and plucks out their heart. It's not gaudy. And there's not red. They're just like white things, because they're dead. And she puts them on scales, and the ancient Egyptian custom was, she put a feather on one side of the scale and the heart on the other, and it's got to balance, and then you can go to paradise, the field of reeds. Otherwise, if it doesn't balance, you get dragged into the underworld. It's like hell, basically. Anyway, the hearts aren't balanced, but they're not unbalanced either. The scales are kind of going backwards and forwards. So she's saying, you're unbalanced, you need to sort yourself out. And I'm here thinking, they need to go and open that other sarcophagus to get Jake Lockley out. So they've got to have 3 hearts, on the scales for it to be balanced. But no. So they go back in, they leave the boat, they go through a door, and they're back in the institution again, and they meet a room full of not zombies, but dead people, all the people that Mark's killed over the years for Moon Knight, for Khonshu. And then so they keep going through the hospital, and they're going through these doors, which are like memory doors. We've had all this before in other things. I think we've had it in Picard, haven't we, with like rooms of memories and stuff like that. I don't like this. I don't like this sort of story where they're going into people's minds, and it's like a representation of reality, and I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. So I didn't like this episode. Anyway, so they're going through all these different doors, these memories of Mark's, the memories of Mark's, because Mark is the primary personality. He was born Mark, and we see him as a boy, and apparently he had a brother. I don't know what his brother was called. I don't know if it says. I can't actually remember if it says what his brother was called. I don't really care, to be honest. Sorry for being heartless. But apparently, when they were kids, Mark and his brother, they went out to go exploring in these caves, and it started raining, and apparently the younger brother, he must have drowned. It doesn't show it, but it kind of implies that he drowned in these caves, and Mark survived. And then it sort of like jumps forward a little bit. It's like a funeral, like a wake for the dead brother, and his mother has obviously gone a bit doolally with it. You know, she's grief-stricken, and she blames Mark. I mean, it really kind of is his fault. She says it's your fault. And it really kind of is, but the episode keeps telling us that it's not his fault, even though it is. So we see that when his mother sort of like descends into madness, and she's blaming Mark, and she ends up beating him. She uses a leather strap to beat him, and this is when Mark creates the personality of Stephen from the Tomb Busters film. He's got the poster up on his wall, so he becomes Stephen Grant with an English accent. Eventually, you know, he obviously leaves home eventually, and does all this stuff. I think he becomes he joins the armed forces, and then when he leaves, then becomes a mercenary basically. And later on, he's told that his mother's died, and he goes back home, and his dad sees him. His dad were always nice to him, you know. His dad were a nice fella. They're a nice Jewish family. Apart from his mother, who went mental. He goes up, you know, but he won't go inside. He's stood at the opposite side of the street, and he's drinking from a flask. He looks a bit drunk. He's a bit walking a bit as though he's a bit piddly, and he won't go in. His dad sees him, but invites him in, but he won't go in. And then Stephen sort of like comes to the fore, and obviously he doesn't know where he is. He's in a foreign country. Oh, they're driving on the wrong side of the road. And that's, you know, when, you know, Stephen and Mark are both there together, and then suddenly all the street starts shaking and something's going wrong. So they go back to the boat again, and they've arrived at the doorway to the Duat, basically, you know, ancient Egyptian heaven, and the scales haven't balanced because what's her face, Tawaret, had told him to go back into his memories and find out why the scales weren't balanced. You know, not to get Jake Lockley from the other sarcophagus, you know, just to go and find out, you know, what's his mental problems, you know, his psychological problems or whatever. But the scales aren't balanced. So anyway, so basically loads of zombies, well, not loads, I think 3. I think we get 4 actually at end. 4 zombies climb up over the boat and try dragging Mark into the desert. This big boat sailing across the desert, by the way. It's not in the sea, it's in the desert. So they try dragging him, and Mark's fighting him, and, you know, fair enough, yeah, it looks okay. And there's a bit of, they're all sort of like made of like, they're not like real people. I mean, they are real people, obviously, but when he hits them, like, the dusty parts break off, so that it hits one in the face, and all its face comes off, and it's, you know, it's not gruesome, but it's quite, makes you go, ooh, you know what I mean. Anyway, him and Stephen fight, they both fight off these, you know, zombies in quotes, 4 of them. You'd think there'd be like loads of them swarming over the side of the boat, wouldn't you? All these people he'd killed that he saw in this room, but no, it's just 4 of them. It's probably all they could afford, maybe, I don't know, but but anyway, Stephen gets, another one comes over the side and starts grabbing at Mark, and Stephen sort of like sacrifices himself. He throws himself at this other zombie, and they both go over the side. He gets up, and the boat's obviously buggering off, and Mark's saying, quick, you know, take my hand, you know, and Stephen's running after him, but then he's running into he can't catch up, and Anyway, it all turns to stone or sand. You know, it's like just stops and turns into like a big statue, sort of. And you think, oh, is that it? Is that it for Stephen? So we've just got Mark now. We don't know who we're in this other sarcophagus. We don't find out what this other personality is that was obviously the one from the previous episode who was going around killing people that both Mark and Stephen said they didn't do. And I think that's it for the episode. I think that's about it. Oh, yeah, Stephen. Oh, yeah. Because for some reason, when Stephen is gone, the scales are balanced, and Stephen ends up in the field of reeds, and that's the episode ends. During the episode, they told they told Towerette to get in touch with Layla and tell her to somehow rescue Khonshu, get Khonshu out of, from his imprisonment. So I presume that's going to be... We've only one episode left. So with one episode left... Oh, right, we don't see Moon Knight, apart from we see how Mark, became Moon Knight. You see how he was shot just outside this temple, and he dragged himself inside. I don't know where Bushman, the baddie who shot him and killed Layla's father, don't know where he is. He's sodded off. Mark's dragged himself into the temple. We hear Khonshu's voice telling him, he wants him to be his Moon Knight. So he agrees to it. So then we see, he turns into Moon Knight. So that's the only time we see Moon Knight in this episode for about 10 seconds, probably. If you sit and count, it's quite a long time if you sit and count to 10 slowly. And that's about all you see of Moon Knight in this episode. So yeah, so it was actually a pretty rubbish episode. It was an origin story for Mark/Stephen. Who this other personality is, we don't know. As the critical drinker would say, don't know. With one episode left, there seems to be a lot to clear up in one episode. If it's a one-off season, I can't see Oscar Isaac coming back, for multiple seasons. He's a big star, isn't he? They only got Ewan McGregor for one season of Kenobi, didn't they? But I don't know. I don't know if a second season's being greenlit or if it's just a one-off one season. But they've got a lot to clear up in this last episode next week. Is it going to be 3 hours long? I doubt it. So Layla's going to get Moon Knight's figurine somehow. And somehow get Stephen out from the field of reeds. He's basically in heaven. He's dead. He's done a Buffy. He's in heaven. And they're going to drag him back to life. Just like they did with Buffy. The Vampire Slayer. So, it wasn't a very good episode. I didn't really enjoy it. It had some, interesting moments in it. And some good acting by Oscar Isaac. I do like Oscar Isaac. He's a great actor. And I must admit, got a little bit emotional. He does a scene in the street. And he reacts to his mother's death. And that was a bit emotional. But apart from that, it was a crap episode. It was crap. Let's not beat about the bush. It was crap. So that's it. I didn't like the episode. It was probably my least favourite episode so far, to be honest. Because I'm not a fan of mind game storylines. I don't know, the bake my noodle, to use I think it's a Matrix term, isn't it? But anyway, so that's it. So I'll leave it there. Not a good episode. A lot to wrap up in episode 6. Will it be good? I don't know. I hope so. So we'll leave it there. And until next time, I'll see thee.